Today I'll be discussing one of the more notable members of the Genovese family. Matthew Ianniello was born in 1920, and initially his family lived on Broome Street, but throughout his childhood, he was also raised in Brooklyn. He was one of 8 children, 5 of whom were boys. An episode in the early part of his life earned him his nickname, Matty the Horse. During a youthful game of baseball, Ianniello was sticking up for a teammate that was hit with a ball by an opposing pitcher. He charged the pitcher and knocked him down with such force that everyone started calling him Matty the Horse. His earlier legitimate jobs included waiting tables in a restaurant and working as a longshoreman. Back in the 1940s, the Brooklyn piers were notably staffed by lower-paid Italians working for less desirable wages. Back then, the docks and waterfront were controlled by Albert Anastasia and his brother Tony. Ianniello joined the United States Army in 1943 and served as an artillery gunner in the Philippines during World War II, where he received a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star before being honorably discharged in 1946. Following the war, he re-entered the restaurant business again and purchased a Times Square restaurant named Matty's Town Crest with his uncle. Aside from legitimate work, Ianniello was close to Funzi Thierry, the future boss of the Genovese family, and also developed a friendship with a knockaround Jewish guy by the name of Julius Bernstein. He had a 1951 arrest for heroin possession and the second arrest for the same charge, but the cases were dismissed in both instances. We know the books to induct new members was closed in 1957 and not reopened until 1976. It's more than likely Ianniello was inducted into the Genovese family in or about 1957. There's a 1965 FBI report that has an informant stating that Matty the Horse is a made guy in the Genovese family. But the actual date of his induction is unknown, but he was proposed by Funzi Thierry for membership. By the 1960s, Ianniello owned most of the bars and clubs, particularly gay ones, in Times Square and Greenwich Village in the city. I've spoken about the Stonewall Inn, where he was a silent partner, and also where the riots took place. A confidential report created by the police department's Organized Crime Control Bureau states Ianniello's prime source of income came by way of over 80 New York bars and restaurants, most of which were involved with homosexuals, prostitution, and narcotics. In June 1964, Ianniello was called before a Manhattan grand jury investigating corruption within the police department and the state liquor authority. After refusing to testify, he was indicted for criminal contempt as a result. But the indictments were dismissed, and the state appealed, and the appellate division reversed the earlier decision and reinstated the indictment. After a trial, Ianniello was convicted of 3 counts of criminal contempt and received a 1-year suspended sentence. A February 8, 1966, FBI report stated that an informant told the FBI Ianniello was one of the richest mid-Manhattan buttons, which means made man. Another FBI report, dated October 1969, stated that Ianniello and Neil Della Croce owned numerous after-hour bars that served the gay community in the West Village. By 1970, the Genovese family, headed by Benny Squint Lombardo, made Ianniello a captain. One of the more famous restaurants in Manhattan's Little Italy was owned by the Ianniello family. Ianniello's father, Umberto, opened it in 1972, called Umberto's Clam House. The original location was at 129 Mulberry Street, and just 2 months after opening, on April 7, 1972, at 4:30 in the morning, Joe Gallo was shot and killed in the restaurant. Allegedly, Ianniello was at the cash register at the time of the shooting and walked into the kitchen. When questioned by the police, he told them, "You think I'm crazy to let this happen in this place? I don't know nothing." 2 of the Ianniello brothers were on record as owners of Umberto's Clam House, which was listed under Osbro Restaurant Incorporated. On May 25, 1979, a 6-year-old boy named Ethan Patz disappeared in Manhattan while walking to the school bus. During the investigation into his disappearance, supposedly, Ianniello put detectives in touch with a former employee of his that they wanted to question. Ianniello's reputation as a major earner was known in the street as well as by law enforcement, who were keeping close tabs on him. As mentioned, he created a financial empire by opening, taking over, and financing bars, restaurants, and clubs in Manhattan. It was said that no one could operate any of those establishments between 34th and 59th Streets from Fifth Avenue up to the Hudson River without cutting Ianniello in on the action. A big moneymaker for him was the Peppermint Lounge until a fire took place in 1982 when it was reopened under the new name Electric Circus. Ianniello chose to run his empire with the help of 3 Jewish partners, a lawyer, a retired police captain, and a chief financial advisor, which alone is a testament to the intelligence he possessed. A lawyer would give advice and legal perspectives. The retired police captain naturally came on board with contacts and favors, and of course a financial advisor to decide what's best to do with all the money being raked in. They created holding companies that would lend money to prospective bars, restaurants, clubs, as well as interior decorating, vending machine, and trash hauling companies. They also had interest in hotels, such as one in Puerto Rico, a gambling casino in St. Martin, as well as other gambling establishments. In addition, they sponsored gambling junkets. A 1975 report out of Scotland Yard speaks about Ianniello and his business partners organizing gambling junkets to a London casino named the Pair of Shoes. Following an investigation into that casino and its connections to organized crime, the casino's gambling license was revoked. The bookkeeping records for all of Ianniello's businesses were kept in 2 separate books, one for the accurate amount of money earned, and the second was money earned after Ianniello took his cut. Another Organized Control Bureau report declared that extensive legal and corporate camouflage makes Ianniello a nebulous target. For instance, the Gilded Grape, a disco on 8th Avenue, where most of the clientele were transsexuals, was a business Ianniello used to funnel money from other businesses by way of cash disbursements. So it's an understatement to say he was doing very well for himself. He, his wife, and 4 children had homes in Allendale, Florida, a horse farm in Frenchtown, New Jersey, and a large house in Old Westbury, New York. Please remember to like this video if you haven't already. And for anyone who wants to show appreciation for videos like this, you can do so down below. In 1985, Ianniello was indicted in a racketeering case involving the skimming of $2.5 million in profits from 5 Manhattan nightclubs and restaurants. On December 30th, 1985, a jury found him guilty and he was sentenced to 6 years. Several racketeering indictments would follow. In May 1986, he was acquitted involving charges for the mob's influence in the private carding industry in New York City. Shortly after being acquitted, he was indicted again, this time for labor racketeering, which included construction bid rigging and extortion. In May 1988, he was indicted again on a racketeering case and was sentenced that same year to 13 years for the bid rigging case. He was released in April 1995. At the time, the Genovese boss, Chin Gigante, was being sent to prison in 1997, and Ianniello was given an acting boss position. However, his legal troubles continued. He was indicted for racketeering in July 2005 and again in June 2006 involving Connecticut trash hauling. He received 18 months for the New York indictment and pled guilty in the Connecticut case, receiving an additional 2 years to run with the 18 months. He was eventually released in 2009. Matty the Horse Ianniello was able to die a free man at his home in Old Westbury on August 15, 2012.